And now, as we begin this hour of Home Talk, the man from the Bayou Land and the 2011 Talk Radio Host of the Year, the host of Home Talk USA, the Cajun Contractor, Michael King.
All right, I've been waiting for a while to talk to this next gentleman. His name is Andy Kireta Sr. He's president and CEO of the Copper Development Association. I love when I talk to trade associations and learn about what they do and the story behind their trade group. And, well, what better to hear from the association than from their own CEO. Hey, Andy, welcome to Home Talk USA. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, Michael. I hope you're having a great day, too.
I am. Now, hey, you know, copper, as we know, is used in many forms of building construction, everything from architecture, plumbing, to electrical wiring. Can you tell us what new innovations do you see for copper, Andy?
Yeah, most of the ones that you mentioned, Michael, are due to copper's thermal or electrical conductivity properties, and then that's great. That's got copper to a renowned part of our everyday lives, but today we see it taking on a new role. We actually see it keeping us much healthier. It's to a point where it's actually saving lives. It became a game changer in the marketplace when it became time to consider what we call HIAs, or hospital-acquired infections, and copper has been proven to kill bacteria. It actually is good enough where it will kill the potentially deadly superbugs that we're hearing about every day called MRSA and E. coli. Solid copper alloys such as the ones that we know, the brasses and the bronzes, they're inherently antimicrobial. And we've known this through some of the ancient cultures, the Chinese, the Aztecs, the Egyptians, where they used copper to put drinking water in vessels so that it would become cleaner overnight. And what we have now is we've actually done some pretty rigorous laboratory tests, and it shows that when cleaned regularly, antimicrobial surfaces of copper, they'll continuously kill bacteria, at least 99.9% within 2 hours of touching it or being exposed to it. We verified all of this in a series of rigorous tests, and what that's done is it's helped lead us to a public health registration with the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency. And one thing that we are very proud of, is that there are no other solid surfaces that can actually make these health claims. We had some federal funding through some testing that we called clinical trials, and we did that in multiple areas, and we found that we've reduced infections in those locations by more than half. We've also been known through this test to show that copper can actually inactivate viruses such as norovirus and influenza A, the common cold.
Well, you made all some great points, and I'm glad you mentioned that this is not new. It's been around for thousands and thousands of years, and now, when you go to third world countries and civilizations that have medical practices that go back, like China, you know what I'm trying to say? It's not new, but why do you think now it's really coming out or really put out into mainstream media to say, hey, you know what? We knew about it. We're going to prove it, and we're going to do the testing, because copper, realistically used in certain forms, it's really good for the quality of our lives. Does that make sense?
Well, it certainly does. As you said, copper goes back a long way. It goes back to about 8,000 BC, over 10,000 years ago. We've used it for a lot of different things. And as I said, some of these earlier civilizations used it the Egyptians used to take slivers off of their spears, and the bronze spears, and they would put that into their wounds that would help eliminate infection and what they felt as though was going to make them better. But one of the issues today is that none of us can say that we don't know somebody that's either been in a hospital or in a healthcare facility and hasn't experienced some type of an infection. We either get it there, or we take it home, we pass it on. Yep. And so that led us to get deeply involved, knowing what we've known, that what copper has done over the years. And so what we did is we had researchers sample different areas and objects in intensive care units in hospitals to find out where were the most infected and contaminated spots. And as a result of that, what we did is we chose 6 different objects within that environment, and we retrofitted it with copper alloys. And what we did was we looked at what materials were predominantly being used, and we had wood, we had plastic, we had steel, stainless steels, and so on. And what we did is we outfitted or retrofitted the bed rails on the beds, the IV poles, the nurse's call devices, which is in a patient's hand all the time, some of the data input devices like the frames or the bezels on the monitors of the computers, the computer mouse, a lot of different things. And one other thing was the overbed tray tables, along with one of the places that popped out in these studies was that the arms on the chairs in the rooms also held these harmful pathogens. And so the effect of just using these 6 areas to cover them with copper or use solid copper surfaces was that it only amounted to about 10% of the room surface. But in the end, it proved that we eliminated about 58%, or we reduced the propensity for infection 58% of these hospital-acquired infections, HAIs. So it was phenomenal.
Wow. And that's how copper is really used in these studies, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. Now, is copper intended to be used solely for healthcare facilities, though?
No. That was the beginning. One of the things we found out, and the reason we went to hospitals, is that if you want to find infections, you want to find where the worst conditions are, where do you go? Hospitals, because people there are sick. That's why they go. But what we found is that there are a lot of places where this can be used, and it is being used, such as take any place where people get together, a gym, an office, transportation hubs, or schools, and even in your home or an apartment building.
We're talking to Andy Kireta Sr., President and CEO of the Copper Development Association, explaining the importance of copper in our everyday lives, not just in construction and architecture and plumbing, wiring, but in our everyday health lives. So that's what we're talking about. But Andy, so what types of copper products are available today, though?
Well, just about anything. The manufacturers have been actively looking at designing pretty much any surface that you can think of that's touchable, and trying to make it with copper, and it's available in a lot of different sizes, styles, and finishes. And most people think of copper as the red metal, but copper is a main alloying element in brasses and bronzes and a number of our alloys like nickel silvers. So you can get any color that you're looking for, not only the reds, but the yellows, the browns, and the silver colors that almost mimic a stainless steel. And there's a few manufacturers that are introducing a series of copper products now for building products and in the home and businesses, and they're looking at things, or they're making things that go anywhere from door hardware to light switches and receptacle covers, and those switch covers, push and pull plates, in your kitchens, the cabinet pulls, the faucets that you actually use, and some of the sinks, and a lot of different products that are out there that are normally known to be the one that you're wiping off all the time, and it's a touch surface.
Now, you were talking about some of the benefits of copper. What are some other benefits of copper? Because I remember in the early segment you was explaining the features and benefits. Are there other benefits that you wanted to discuss?
Yeah. First off, we talked about the thermal and electrical conductivity of copper, and that's always discussed. But one of the things we want people to understand is that copper can go head-to-head with almost any material. It's durable, it's recyclable. You never see a piece of copper laying around. Somebody's picking up and they're recycling it somehow. It's wear resistant. It wears very, very well. It can stand up the most harsh environments, and we've seen that by some of the historic applications of copper. Look at the roofs in some of the historic cathedrals around the world, and different items of handrails and so on. You can almost get it in any finish once you either stamp it, form it, and turn it into a detail that's situated in an application that suits you. It'll hold that for forever. And the colors, as I mentioned earlier, there's an unbelievable range of colors that you can get in the over 500 different copper alloys that are used for antimicrobial applications.
Now, does it need to be cleaned or treated a special way? I mean, does copper lose its effectiveness, say when it's patinus?
No, but one of the questions that people keep coming back with is, like sprays and liquids and so on, you put it on and they evaporate, dissipate. Does that happen with copper? And the answer is no, because number one, it is solid. It's pure, and it's not a coating. It's not an additive. But what we do tell people is that it does not eliminate the idea of cleaning according to the protocols that are required in hospitals or even in your home, so that everything that you use with copper, even if you used another material, you'd want to clean it regularly like anything else that you deal with. And another thing that people ask about is, okay, we've seen copper, it starts out red and it turns different colors, brown or the green that we're used to seeing. And does that make a difference? Not at all. There's some copper alloys that do form this so-called patina, or the coloration or the greening that some people call it, and they vary, but it does not in any way, shape, or form affect its ability to fight germs when it tarnishes.
Now, can copper components be found in any buildings today, though?
Yeah, like I said earlier, we did it in some hospitals and in clinical trials, but after the trials were over, right immediately after, one of the most, I guess, advertised and publicized areas for it was in the Ronald McDonald House in Charleston, South Carolina. They recognized that they had kids coming in here that were vulnerable. They had infections, or they were vulnerable to further infection. And so what they wanted to do is to create a situation and an atmosphere that could eliminate that risk. And so they took all the stair railings, the sinks, the faucets, the grab rails, the bathroom vanities, all of the pulls and hardware on the cabinets, the lock sets on the doors, their tabletops, the chair arms that we mentioned earlier. They replaced them all with antimicrobial copper. And what we have now is we know of 3 new hospitals, one in Minnesota, one in Connecticut, and another in Washington. They've actually started installing copper components and all of the fixtures in those facilities to take advantage of this intrinsic property of copper, the antimicrobial property. And so it's not all new, though. One thing we have to recognize is that copper and brass hardware have been here for a long, long time. We've seen it in historic homes. We've seen it in landmark buildings, and our headquarters in New York City, right close to Grand Central Terminal, what we refer to as Grand Central Station. When they originally designed this, they put in a lot of brass and bronze, either in the rails, the handrails, the handles, the doorknobs. They did it for a lot of different reasons, but basically it was so that it functioned well, it looked good, and it was going to last for a long time. Little did they realize, and if they did today, they'd be standing up just beaming, knowing that all of the shoppers and the commuters and the thousands of people that go through there every single day are now protected from those bacteria that cause infection.
Wow. All right, we're going to take a short break. Give me some information. How can we learn more about the Copper Development Association?
Well, okay. Sorry, Michael. You caught me at a lapse right there. Our website is www.copper.org.
That's very easy, copper.org. Andy, thank you so much. This is the first time you've been on the show, and keep us updated. I hope you drop by from time to time and keep us, what's happening in the Copper Development Association. Thank you, my friend.
You're welcome, Michael, and have a wonderful day.